Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome again to Syriana Analysis. I'm your host, Almassian. First of all, I would like to thank you guys all and express my gratitude for your patience because I couldn't post in the past 2 weeks, let's say long podcast videos and analysis on Syriana Analysis because it was as you may know, my wedding party here in Berlin, and I had to be with my family and wife, and the celebration took a lot of energy from me in terms of the organization before and after the ceremony. But now I'm back to Syrian Analysis. I'm back online to share with you my thoughts about what's happening around the world. And today I have a very interesting topic, which is how neo-Nazi or actual Nazi group in the United States joined the fight in Ukraine. And now they say, according to them, because they were gathering yesterday or the day before, in Florida, they say that they support Biden and they prefer Biden over Trump because Biden sends rockets to Ukraine. Interesting, eh? But before that, because on Syriana Analysis, I like to put things in proper context because everything is about context. If you don't put things in the proper context, you will bring childish analysis like many of the people are doing nowadays online. The neo-Nazi scene in Ukraine is not new. Before, let's say, the end of the World War or during the World War II, there were Nazi elements in Ukraine, especially headed by Stepan Bandera, and they were fighting alongside Hitler against the Russians. Bandera was an ally of Hitler, but they had some disagreements over who will rule Ukraine after the fall of the Soviet Union in their own plans and strategy. That was their political disagreement, but all in all, they were hand in hand fighting against the Russians, and they all participated together in the ethnic cleansing of the Jewish population in Ukraine and in Eastern Europe in general. After the World War II, when Hitler was defeated, some people thought that the Nazi scene would be crushed in Ukraine, right? Yeah, all in all, the Soviet Union crushed the neo-Nazi scene in, let's say, in Ukraine, but in order to organize resistance or guerrilla warfare against the Soviet Union after the World War II, and the MI6 used him. The CIA also was part of it, but not directly. The MI6 mostly was embedded with Bandera, and they used him to revive the neo-Nazi cells in Ukraine in order for these neo-Nazis to wage attacks against the Soviet army or the Red Army. Now, the neo-Nazi scene, in my opinion, has become very famous after 2014 coup d'etat, which was orchestrated again by the CIA and the MI6 in Kiev in order to remove the president and install a puppet government. And in order to do that, they needed the neo-Nazi groups in Ukraine in order to do the violent acts against the Ukrainian government back then, and it was democratically elected, by the way. And accordingly, the right sector, the Azov battalion, and other Nazi groups were pumped up, and they all of a sudden again appeared to be active on the surface, and they actively participated in removing the government in Ukraine. And in the afterwards, when the eastern Ukrainian regions, especially in the Donbas region, they refused the fascist government in Kiev, they were crushed and they were fought against, and the Ukrainian government they waged a brutal war against the Russian-speaking people in the east, or ethnic Russians. They used the Azov battalion and the right sector and other neo-Nazi groups against the Russians, and accordingly around 14,000 people died during these hostilities between 2014 and 2022. And everything I'm telling you are facts here, right? You can all go and document all these facts that I mentioned. And I also spoke about all these facts on Syriana Analysis in the past videos. You can check them all with documents and all the sources that I mentioned there. Now, interestingly, because in the United States you have freedom of expression, we have the absolute freedom to gather and protest and say whatever you want, even if you're a Nazi. So the Nazis in the United States, they had a gathering the other day in Florida, and of course, just this is also for YouTube. This is not an endorsement of the Nazis in Ukraine. This is a condemnation of the Nazis and Nazism on my YouTube channel. So please don't take down this YouTube or demonetize this YouTube channel, dear YouTube. So first things first, I want to show you what happened the other day in Florida. This is Laura Loomer. She's an American Jewish journalist. She doesn't have an Israeli passport, and she was on a highway. She says the Nazi rally in Altamonte Springs, Florida today was organized by Goyim Defense League, GDL, and its founder John Minadio. As I was getting ready to turn onto the highway, I saw a cluster of about 50 masked men carrying swastika flags, doing Roman salutes and shouting Heil Hitler. When I pulled my car over to record, they shouted, "Look, Laura Jumer," and they proceeded to shout chants of Jigsaw, Jew, White Power, and Go Home to Israel. I don't know what that word is, in my face. One of them even told me that I would get the oven too. So those are the people who were gathering on a highway in the United States. It's on the September 2nd, so 2 days ago, in Altamonte Springs in Florida. And this is video from Laura Loomer. Take a look.
You invaded, bitch! You have enough now! Fuck you! Holy Aries son! Holy Aries son! Let's go home! 110! Once again!
Jew! Put the Jew in the oven!
What group are you guys with?
Blut Star! That's good! Your penis! You don't talk! It looks bad on TV!
Hold up your arms! Hold up your arms!
Hail Hitler!
Hail Hitler!
Hail Hitler!
Get the fuck out of here! Holocaust, get it happy! 6 million
Hey, conservatives have conserved nothing!
What are you guys out here for?
Conservatives have conserved nothing! Laura, do you believe in the Holocaust?
Of course I believe in
You
the
believe in it?
Holocaust.
Why is it illegal to question 18 countries?
Of course I believe in the Holocaust.
Why is it
Holocaust
illegal to
happened.
question 18 countries? Do you think it should be illegal to question the Holocaust? Yes
The
or no?
Holocaust happened, but we have free
Why
speech
is
in
it
this
illegal
country.
in all these European countries to question it?
What are you guys out here
You
today
just said
for?
we have free speech. White power! Yeah, get out of here, Jew boy. No such thing as a face, too. Does Ron DeSantis believe in free speech? How about HB 269? for Ron DeSantis. That woman has a dick.
I mean, those are just the brainless people, right?
I look like what?
You look like Jigsaw. Jigsaw Jew! Jigsaw Jew! Jigsaw Jew! Jigsaw Jew! Jigsaw Jew! Jigsaw Jew! I'm getting in the oven too, bitch.
So, anyways, enough with this. I mean, those are just brainless people. I think the vast majority of the people would refuse to be associated with this Nazi group, whether in the United States or abroad. I think this ethnic nationalism is dead from since World War II. There are, of course, elements. They're trying to revive political elements, trying to revive this ideology in certain places in the world in order to use them against the enemies, their enemies. For example, these Nazis around the world, they are joining the fight in Ukraine against Russia. So it's beneficial for NATO. Just like they did with the jihadists, they invited them all around the world and encouraged them to go to Syria and fight against the Syrian government and the Syrian army and Bashar al-Assad. So they are useful. Like the limited presence of these Nazis are useful for the establishment in order to use them against their enemies, because those are the people who are ready to do the fighting. Now, Max Blumenthal, he shared a segment from a video shared by two people on Twitter. And these Nazis, they say, quote, Biden is better than Trump because he sends rockets to Ukraine. The neo-Nazi blood tribe leader Christopher Pohlhaus stated at a 9-2 Florida rally. Kent, or Boneface McLaren, ex-volunteer for Ukraine's state-backed Azov regiment, Sig hageled and bellowed Slava Ukraini. Now, just check what the leader of this Nazi group says, and also focus on a person who has lots of tattoos on his face. He's called Boneface McLaren, and we will come back and see how and where he was fighting in Ukraine.
Christopher, there's a presidential race going on right now. Are you going to vote in 2024? What do you think is going to happen?
My vote is useless. I think Biden's better than Trump because he sends rockets to Ukraine.
I will stop it. This is the guy, the Boneface. Yes, you can. Was part of the right sector and the Azov battalion in Ukraine, and he recently returned back from Ukraine to the United States. And this is the leader of this group. And he says that Biden is better than Trump because Biden is sending rockets to Ukraine. I mean, just imagine if this guy said that Trump is better than Biden. Can you imagine the outrage by the mainstream media and what would have done? And this is not a defense for Trump, but I'm showing you how biased and dishonest and disingenuous are the mainstream media when it comes to such cases.
In support of Ukraine, you mean?
Hell Ukraine, hell Azov.
Slava Ukraina!
This is the guy.
Tell me this, Christopher.
Come on, just sing your fucking dreidel, you fucking reborn slave! Slava Ukraina!
You're like Skullface from Marvel, right?
Boneface.
Boneface, sorry.
I'm Boneface.
What inspired you to kind of tattoo up like this?
Ukraine.
So this is again from Laura Loomer, the American Jewish journalist, and she shares some more information about this Boneface. She says this Boneface McLaren was arrested by the FBI in Florida for domestic terrorism in May 2012. The FBI said he and others were preparing a terrorist act against national minorities in Florida. He then fled to Ukraine to join the right sector, a creation of the CIA, in 2014. In 2022, he returned to Ukraine and was reportedly deported. Now he is back in Florida, where he is active in the local Nazi scene. Yesterday, he was on L4 with a group of Nazis who were saying they support Joe Biden while they were waving swastika flags and shouting slurs at me because I'm Jewish. There is no way you get away with all of that after being arrested by the FBI for domestic terrorism, and there is no way you get away with traveling to Ukraine to fight in a foreign war as an American citizen, defected mercenary, unless you are some type of FBI or CIA informant.
Slava Ukraini, Boneface here. I'm not much of a, not really quite used to doing the webcam thing, but it's worth a shot, So I'd like to apologize ahead of time for any sort of inaccuracies or anything.
When he joined the Azov battalion, probably in 2022, and I don't know why he returned back to the United States. Maybe he saw with his own eyes that this is a war that they cannot win in Ukraine. Maybe what is left from his functioning brain cells told him that if there is any left in his brain, that they have to come back to the United States because they cannot win against the Russian army. Laura Loomer, she says, one of the Nazis who I caught on camera yesterday at the Nazi rally in Altamonte Spring, Florida, has been working with the CIA, by his own admission, to help recruit Nazis to fight in Ukraine, where he himself fought alongside Right Sector and Azov Battalion with the help from the CIA. The Nazi rally in Florida yesterday is directly tied to the CIA and FBI, and law enforcement sources have told me FBI agents were undercover at this rally. This is him. This is another a Nazi in in Ukraine who says that he was recruited by the CIA in order to for himself to recruit the Nazis from the United States to Ukraine. Take a look.
Впервые я поехал на Украину сразу после революции на Майдане. Наш полк еще не был сформирован. Тогда это был всего лишь батальон, но я активно сотрудничал с добровольческим корпусом правого сектора Великобритании, и через них я оказался в Misanthropic Division. Многие говорят, что якобы меня туда отправило ФБР, но ФБР не имело к этому отношения на самом деле. Это было Центральное разведывательное управление. Они свели меня с ними. Тогда все дело было в самой революции, в том, что там стали активно действовать различные военные организации, которые придерживались принципов национализма. Националисты здесь, в США, никогда не могли объединиться. Понимаете, о чем я? Это было совершенно не похоже на то, что происходило на Украине. Меня очень это привлекало, как и многих других добровольцев из Америки. Когда батальон Азов только сформировался, третья рота была исключительно англоговорящая. Люди из Норвегии, Финляндии и подобных стран, ну и, конечно, американцы. Так что это было подразделение, в которое входили самые разные люди со всего мира. И это еще до того, как Азов распался на различные батальоны и подразделения, когда он был крайне слабо организован. Их было очень много. Было много американцев. Зеленский бросил нас умирать. Он боится нас еще больше, чем русских. Я убежден в этом. Зеленский с этим своим постоянным торгом, выспрашиванием у мира нового оружия, это постоянное требование оружия. Мы не видели ничего из этого оружия. Вообще нам ни разу ничего не дали. Он решил нас всех сдать. Позволил арестовать всех защитников Азовстали до последнего. Ты же только что послал нас умирать за разваливающийся на части алюминиевый завод. Ну да, он всем нам дал гражданство, да. Он всех нас наградил медалями за заслуги, обращался с нами очень хорошо. Но когда речь зашла о выдаче нам карт социального обеспечения, документов, удостоверяющих личность, тут его решимость пошатнулась. И я начал понимать, что Зеленский просто хочет позволить нам умереть.
These Nazis actually received the Ukrainian citizenship and Ukrainian passport by Zelensky. And this is every time we say that Zelensky is whether willingly or unwillingly supporting the Nazis in Ukraine because they're embedded with the Ukrainian armed forces, right? Like the neo-Nazi groups, the armed battalions, they are part of the defense ministry, and the country is headed by Zelensky. Yeah, he is Jewish, but at the same time, he thinks that he needs these neo-Nazis to fight against the Russians. He's either willingly doing it or he's incapable of forcing them to retreat and come or obey, let's say, right? So in either case, whether it's willingly or unwillingly, it's a big scandal that a Jewish president like Zelensky is actually supporting the neo-Nazis in Ukraine, those who publicly and openly call for the execution and ethnically cleanse the Jewish people. This is just crazy, in my opinion, but it is happening. It is happening nowadays. This is the last tweet from Laura Loomer. And she says, one of the Nazis I caught on camera yesterday who was shouting slurs at me is a guy by the name of Kent McLaren. He goes by the name Boneface, and his entire face is covered with tattoos. This is the same guy that was on video. Kent McLaren is an American neo-Nazi who fought in Donbass as part of the Nazi right sector movement. He joined Ukraine's Nazi Azov battalion after Russia launched an attack on Ukraine. According to one report from 2022, McLaren received a Ukrainian passport in March of 2022. Kent McLaren is a man who has a swastika tattoo on half of his torso. He has killed civilians, has several convictions in the United States, and heads several neo-Nazi associations. This man now has Ukrainian citizenship. How is this man walking the streets, and who is paying for his travel to Ukraine? A source who reached out to me says they know Boneface, and they said he's homeless and is often unemployed. How is he affording plane tickets to Ukraine to fight Russia, and who paid him? How is he even able to travel freely between the US and Ukraine? This is insane. Yeah, it's actually insane. This is the Boneface in Florida, in the United States. This is him with the Azov battalion in Ukraine. And this is the report that says that the guy McLaren received the Ukrainian passport in March of this year. Kent McLaren is a man who has a swastika tattoo on half of his torso. He has killed civilians, has several convictions in the United States, and had several neo-Nazi associations. This man now has a Ukrainian citizenship. So, in your opinion, guys, do you believe that the CIA is actually aiding and supporting these guys, or they're just facilitating their travel to Ukraine? Like, is the CIA actually giving an actual support to them in order for these people to go to Ukraine, or they're just turning a blind eye for them to go to Ukraine? Because in both cases, I've seen both cases in Syria with the Salafists, with the jihadists who went and joined ISIS and Al Qaeda to fight against the Syrian government. There are some cases that the governments knew in Europe and in the United States and in Canada and in Australia and elsewhere that these radicals are going to Syria, and they just turn the blind eye so that they export their problems, this radicalism from their countries to our country. And in other cases, they help them to go to Syria. What do you think about this case with these Nazis, actual Nazis in the United States and in Europe who are joining the fight in Ukraine against the Russians? And do you think that these Nazis are now aware that they're being used also as a cannon fodder? Because this is what the Boniface says, that Zelensky used them in Mariupol for his own goals, and he sent them to die, right, in this fight against the Russians. And I think there are increasing number of foreign fighters who joined these foreign legions in Ukraine. They're realizing this and they're returning back to their countries. There is no more that hype as it was the case at the beginning of the war in Ukraine, where lots of people, nationalists in Europe and in the United States, they were joining the fight against Russia. And there was a big media coverage about it. They were celebrating it and encouraging it. But all of a sudden, in my opinion, I'm not seeing that so many people from Western Europe, Eastern Europe, or from the United States are joining this fight. Do you see new cases about this? Let me know in the comments below. And the another question is here, do you see that the American laws are like the best thing that I'm... So let me paraphrase this. In the United States, the Nazis are legally allowed to gather and protest or demonstrate or do activities because of the, I think, the First Amendment. But it's not allowed, for example, in most of the European countries. Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer that the Nazis would have the right to demonstrate and gather, or they shouldn't have the right to demonstrate and gather? To be honest with you, I don't think that these people have any actual point or any political opinion that deserve to be respected. And but how do we exclude them from the political life or the society? That's the other question. And also there is another point where the definition of Nazism is changing all the time, and the governments, they're using far-right fascism and neo-Nazism. They're politicizing the term in order to crush their opponents. For example, in Germany, the government, there are reports that say the Verfassungsschutz, or the intelligence agency, the Office for the Protection of the Constitution, they're trying to ban the right-wing party AfD because they consider it too radical now. But if you compare what these Nazis are saying to what the AfD says, the AfD sounds like just a normal conservative party, in my opinion. And especially in 2023, probably at the beginning they were a little bit more on the far right, and now I like, this is just my opinion, right? I believe they're just a conservative party. So there is also the case of weaponization of the Nazism and Nazi definition in order to exclude your opponents from the political life. That's also another case that is worth of discussion. So, guys, this was all for today. I tried to bring to you these cases all together so that we can discuss also in the comments below. Please share your opinions with me. So I will also remind you guys that on Syriana Analysis, I will cover the case of the siege on Nagorno-Karabakh, Artsakh, by Azerbaijan. So if you know any good Armenian journalists based in Yerevan or in Artsakh, please mention them, their handlers of Twitter, in the description below, so that I contact them and probably interview them tomorrow or the day after. So till then, thank you very much for watching, guys. I've been your host, Almassian of Syriana Analysis. If you're new, please subscribe, hit the like button, and share this video with your friends. And if you want to support my independent work, there are different means in the description below. For example, you can support me through Patreon, you can support me through PayPal, or if you're in the United States and if you want to buy vitamin D, D3K2, which is a comprehensive package of vitamins as a supplement to boost your immune system. I'm also an affiliate marketer of this product. Also, the link in the description below. And this is only in the United States, guys. And I will see you very soon.